Welcome to the year 2023. My name is Captain McKay, and I'd like to, on behalf of the year 2023, I guess, I'm welcoming people to this video. That's a stupid intro. I'm not leaving that. Also, something's missing. Something's definitely... Got it. As you can see, it's 2023. We're here to talk about some of the good action figures that we had in 2022. Maybe you agree, maybe you got a whole different list of stuff that you think is better than whatever I got on here. That's the whole point, is we're here to just come together, talk about some of it, and I can show you what I think was really cool. I bought a lot in 2022. I'm quite embarrassed and quite ashamed at what I've done, actually. Yeah, not great. What I will say is there was a lot of quality products out there on the market. So if you were an action figure collector in the last year, you probably already know just how easy it is to be spending money on things that just catch your eye. Lord knows I did. My eyes were open to everything, and my wallet was also open to everything, apparently. But I'm not gonna let that discourage me. This is a whole new year, new me, it's the whole thing. I'm gonna talk about some of my favorite figures from last year. We're gonna do it a little differently this year. I'm not gonna make like a list from 10 to 1 or anything like that. That's just not how I feel like doing it this year. A lot of people do that, and that's cool, and I've done that in the past and it's worked, but I'm really just more about having kind of an appreciation for these things now. I'm not necessarily looking to pit one against the other and tell you which is better or worse or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just gonna show you some stuff I like. Speaking of stuff I like, look at these beautiful Patreon people I got here. Hopefully they're enjoying all the extra videos they're seeing over there. A little JWF Revisited, where we're talking about some of my old wrestling videos and kind of I'm giving you my point of view on like what was going on in my mind when I was doing that stuff. We got special videos for the Hall of Fame tier, just basically whatever you want to know, I'll show you. That's fun. Lots of behind the scenes stuff, lots of work in progress stuff, some animation here and there. It's a fun time, it's good. If you feel like checking it out for a month or so, whatever, just, you know, have fun. Now with that all said, let's get talking about some of the best figures of 2022. I'm going to start with a few honorable mentions. And actually, it's probably just as many honorable mentions as there are on my actual top 10 list. And like I mentioned, it's not going to be in any kind of order, it's just going to be, here's what I like. So without further delay, here come my honorable mentions for my favorite figures of the year 2022. Take it away.
When I was a little kid, I remember having the Universal Monsters toys from Imperial Toys. They were definitely unique, definitely a product of their time. Then when I was in high school, I remember Sideshow diving deep into the Universal Monsters with an insane amount of figures based on pretty much any monster you could think of. Multiple versions of each monster depending on the actor portrayal, whether you wanted color or black and white versions, whether you wanted smaller 8-inch figures or 12-inch cloth goods versions, you could pretty much get anything. Fast forward to 2022, and we've seen really nice offerings from Jada Toys that by all accounts are really good. But the ones I'm talking about here today are from NECA, and I have to admit, the detail and special attention to screen accuracy is out of control. These classic monsters have been ingrained in my brain since childhood, and having new versions to display makes me really happy. And the line seems to be going strong, with accessory sets and some new releases coming in 2023 and hopefully beyond. The first Mortal Kombat figure I got in 2023 was REPTILE. Now this is the Ultimate MK3 version from Storm Collectibles, and I gotta say, I really like this a lot. He comes with a lot of similar things to the earlier REPTILE figure that we got from Storm, which is fine since that figure is getting ridiculous on the aftermarket for people who missed him. And while the Ultimate MK3 Ninja body might not be Storm's best body mold, it does make up for it in terms of engineering and in color. This figure's not going to wear out like the original release, which mine's gotten so bad that he can barely stand on his own. Plus the bright green really pops, and they made the mask look a lot nicer than the one they used for Scorpion or Sub-Zero. Overall, a very nice figure in my opinion. Moving over into the world of wrestling, I gotta shout out the Amazon exclusive Ultimate Edition Shawn Michaels from Mattel. Now this is a figure that I was excited to get, and it delivered once I did get it. The articulation on these Ultimate figures has improved a lot over the years thanks to the butterfly joints, and the accessories on Shawn are great. Removable earrings, great looking entrance gear, and extra hands and an additional head make this guy a lot of fun. Now while I still prefer the size and look of the first Ultimate Edition Shawn, there's no reason to be mad at this one, especially if you like extra articulation and the pinless double jointed elbows. If you're a wrestling collector, highly recommend this guy. And speaking of wrestling, you know I'm going to talk about VADER. Now this is from the Royal Rumble series, which is basically an upgrade of a previous Elite figure that we got years ago, but with a much nicer head sculpt. You do lose the removable mask, but the new sculpt lets Mattel get much more detail into it than they were previously able to. And if you wanted to swap heads with the recent Legends one to get the unmasked look, you can still do that. This new version also has different deco, as well as pinless double jointed arms and swap out hands. Basically, unless they do ever make an Ultimate Edition, this is probably going to be Vader's best figure for a really long time to come. I love it, and I highly recommend it to any wrestling collector. So this is an interesting combo we got here. Here's a couple of third-party figures that are clearly based on Leonardo and Leatherhead from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they're done in a totally unique style. Now, I've done a whole review of the FuRay Toys CROCKER, so I'm not going to go into detail here, but he's a great looking figure and looks surprisingly nice in with a movie Ninja Turtles display. This Leonardo, aka Samurai Spring, is a totally new style of figure. Now, he is small, which did annoy some people, but I don't really mind his size, since they're kind of doing their own thing here. The deluxe version comes with an unmasked head and the classic katana swords, which look great along with all the weapons that came with the standard release. I'm very interested to see where this series goes. We've seen FuRay Toys show some upcoming promo shots that make me very happy. I always love seeing Doom get some recognition. McFarlane sadly hasn't done a ton with the license, beyond a few repaints of the only two figures in the line, but in 2022, they finally gave us a new version of the Slayer in the classic Doom Guy armor. This is based on the classic armor from Doom Eternal, but if you want a more classic look, you could pop off the equipment launcher and the arm blade to just have a 90s Doom Guy figure. Now the green version has gotten crazy expensive, but the red one is fairly new as I record this, since technically I got this one in 2023. So if you're interested, the red one might still be available. It's a cool piece of video game history, and would look great on a shelf next to your floppy disk or CD-ROM copy of the original Doom game. Godzilla Singular Point was a pretty interesting interpretation of the lore for an anime series. It reimagined a lot of the Godzilla lore for a new spin on all the characters, and that includes Jet Jaguar. Now this is a character I've wanted for a long time, and while we've seen some offerings recently, I'm holding out hope for an SH MonsterArts of the classic Showa design. But in the meantime, they did do a great job with this version from Singular Point. They included basically everything I would want out of a Jet Jaguar figure from that series, including his spear weapon and his massive propeller backpack. And while this still isn't my mind's eye version of Jet Jaguar, I'll always be happy to just look over and see him standing on the shelf. If you're a hard rock or a heavy metal fan, you've probably encountered Ghost at some point. Now the online discourse about whether Ghost is or is not heavy metal is, you know what, we're not even gonna... You heavy metal fans on the internet, you guys are just as bad as wrestling fans, that's all I'm gonna say. But thanks to Super 7, we got a couple versions of Papa from Ghost. Now this is technically Papa 2, who fronted the band on their Infestissimum album. And while Papa 2 has been dead for a few years, we're able to represent him on our shelf as an ultimate action figure. He's striking for sure, he's eye-catching, and he's got a great presence in a music collection. I can't wait to see what they eventually do with a Papa 3 figure. NECA continues to impress with our cartoon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles line. In 2022, we saw a lot in the way of army builders, as they released the Crooked Ninja Turtle gang members, as well as the Rock Soldiers. These guys are great for filling out Dimension X ranks, or for standard Street Thug gang members, and sculpting and paint is always excellent across this line. And for anyone jumping into the line early last year, they did release a box set of the Turtles. Now this set was basically just an upgrade of their style guide versions from a few years back, but this time with the interchangeable head and face options. Honestly, the previous Turtles in Disguise set with the cartoon colors was a better value, since this set was more expensive and it came with less accessories. But I will concede that these figures have better QC, or at least my set does. And honestly, it might be the best cartoon Turtles in my collection as far as quality goes. At first, I was hesitant to get this set, but I'm really glad I did.
So that was a rundown of some stuff that I thought was really, really nice, but maybe not quite in my top 10. But, you know, like I said, we're just kind of winging it this time around. I'm not really necessarily putting anything in any kind of order. It's just, it's fun. It's just we're having fun. That's the whole point of toys, right? Like they're supposed to be fun, last I heard. Anyway, let's get on with it. This is the top figures of the year as far as, you know, my own opinion. Again, in no real order, but just stuff that I thought stood out in the year 2020-22. Let's roll. Let's take it away.
As much as I like Marvel Legends, I wasn't really blown away by any of the single releases I got in 2022. There were some strong figures, sure, but as an X-Men guy, the BONEBREAKER wave just didn't really stand out as much as I was hoping. The retro card stuff coming out looks good, and I know I'm gonna like them, but I just don't have them yet. But what I did get this year that I liked was the BONEBREAKER Build-A-Figure. Now this guy is really nice. It's a very unique figure with a lot of cool sculpting that makes him stand out from the rest of the line. The Reavers team is slowly but surely filling out its ranks, and I'm happy to see that these more minor characters are getting made. We also got to talk about MOJO. This is the version from the MOJO World box set, which included a couple of pretty nice figures along with it. I know there's a lot of talk at the time about the box set being too high of a price, and yeah, I agree, but on the other hand, I can admit that I do like this MOJO way more than the single release. The colors on this one are just much more in line with what I think of from fighting him in the Sega Genesis game, and I'm happy to finally add MOJO to my collection after missing the old Toy Biz version. So yeah, after I wrote this whole script, I realized that I still have my Toad and my Apocalypse that I just haven't opened, and then there was that 20th anniversary Captain America, which was really, really nice, so I might just be totally wrong about Legends. I don't know, probably. Here's a line that I didn't anticipate coming back, but I'm glad it did. NECA's old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic figures from 2008 remain some of my favorite turtles ever made. The attention to detail on the old school Mirage aesthetic is killer, and they really did an amazing job making these look straight out of the first issue. So imagine my surprise 14 years later when they showed some more classic comic TMNT that we'd be getting. Now this year, I did get the Mirage Casey Jones, Fugitoid, and is it Renee or Renette?
Hi, I'm Renette, Apprentice Timestress.
Will we ever see you again, Renette?
Okay, it's Renette. Or maybe this one is Renee and the blue one is Renette, because there's a variant, and you know what, actually I don't care. These are definitely some great figures, and they capture that Mirage art style, which makes them perfect to blend in with the TMNT from all those years ago. Interestingly, they also revisited the old black and white series, which led to me finally getting a comic Shredder. So now my old black and white turtles have an enemy. I still gotta open them up, but I admit, they look good together in the box. I also got the Utroms, haven't opened them yet. I do have a diorama idea that I'm gonna use them for, so they will get opened at some point. But NECA wasn't done. They also did figures based on The Last Ronin, which is a very recent story from the IDW Turtles book. Now I actually just read it after I got the hardcover for Christmas, and I really liked it. The figures are both great. I like the look of the armored one more, but the unarmored one has a better range of motion. They do both have different accessories too, so there's enough meat on the bone if you want to get both. The Last Ronin and the Mirage comic series are both going to continue, which is exciting for me. I can't wait to see what they do. I don't mess with many Revoltech figures, but I do love the X-Men ones. So when they did a new Deadpool, I jumped on board. He's a ton of fun, super posable as you would expect for Revoltech, and plenty of weapons and extra parts. Revoltech is one of those companies that's all about style, and when they do it right, it's always a great look. This is definitely on par with their other X-Men figures in my book, easily one of the more fun releases I bought in 2022. This guy's just a good figure. SH MonsterArts had a couple of really good releases in 2022, including Mechagodzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong, and the Godzilla anime figures from Singular Point. But to me, the standout was HEDORAH. We don't usually see a lot of the classic Showa monsters from the 70s, so when they did HEDORAH, I knew I needed it. The figure itself is really cool, and while he isn't the most movable figure they've ever done, he moves about as well as a big blob of sludge could be expected to. The fun thing with this release is that they also included a flying form of HEDORAH. Now this one's a static piece that doesn't move, but still, you're effectively getting 2 figures in this one set. 3 if you want to count the little tadpole thing. Overall, I'm happy with him. He looks impressive on a shelf, and I'm looking forward to more Showa-era Godzilla stuff down the road. Looking at you, Gigan. So if you've been here on this channel for a while, you already know I'm a fan of a lot of Storm Collectibles figures. To me, they do a great job with their fighting game licenses. Something about the bulky designs, which still have tons of articulation, just speaks to me. So it's no surprise to discover that I absolutely love this King figure. I'm not a huge Tekken guy, but anytime I did play, King was always my character. I don't know, I guess I just liked his wrestling moves. This figure is big, and features the same impressive range of motion as other Storm Collectibles releases. Plenty of hands, a removable cape, and an imposing size make this a great addition to any video game collection. Now Storm, I'm begging you, final fight in 2023? I'll buy every Hagar figure you make. Super 7 has been doing their thing when it comes to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles line. Now I found myself getting more and more into their line, where I pick and choose some of the ones that I think either look the coolest, or some of the ones that I doubt we'll get from other companies. And one figure in particular that blew me away in 2022 was their Slash. Now this guy's great. He's very imposing, size-wise, and his appearance is such a good update of the original vintage Playmates figure. There are other Slash figures out there, and don't get me wrong, those are also good. But to me, when I think of the character, this is the version I think of. He's got all his savage-looking weaponry, extra hands, an extra head, and a pretty good range of articulation considering Super 7 isn't usually the most articulated figure company. But it works well with Slash. In my opinion, this is not only the best TMNT Ultimate of the year, but this might actually be the best one in the line so far. I would definitely recommend this to any Ninja Turtles collector. Oh yeah, we're throwing it way back to the beginning of 2022. Some people had this on their list in 2021, but I didn't get mine until January. I'm talking about the Super Saiyan 4 Goku from the beloved and critically acclaimed anime series that defined a generation, Dragon Ball GT. From the often overlooked and generally despised anime series that has since been retconned, Dragon Ball GT. Whatever your thoughts on the source material, this is a good figure. I can't tell you how many people I've heard say something like, I don't even like the show, but this figure is so good that it doesn't even matter. And I agree. And that's coming from someone who didn't even totally hate the show. I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't think it was great, but I don't think it's straight trash either. But anyway, like I said, this figure's incredible. The new engineering allows for some great articulation, even more impressive than previous SHF releases. And the array of spare parts leaves very little to be desired. Great figure overall, and I'm glad it exists. While we're on the subject, and regardless of our GT opinions, I think we can all agree that Dragon Ball Z is universally more well-known and well-regarded. 2022 saw the release of KRILLIN, Earth's Strongest Man. So I never actually got the first release of KRILLIN. By the time I started collecting the line, he was already way out of my price range. So I waited, and eventually my patience paid off. This is a great figure, and he's everything I could want from KRILLIN. He looks awesome in any display you could put him in, and his range of expressions and hands is amazing. To say nothing about his Destructo Disc effect piece. I'm so glad we got this figure. He's a very welcome addition to the collection. We're back to NECA, and this time I gotta give it up for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze movie figures. Anybody who knows NECA's movie stuff already understands how great it usually is, and these are no exception. They've taken great care to make sure that these turtles are accurate to the second movie, which makes them totally stand apart from the ones from the first movie. The brighter colors, the different sculpts, and all the extras definitely make this set worthwhile, especially if you got the accessory set to go along with it. These guys are such fun to display, and they look great among the other Secret of the Ooze stuff that NECA has done. I can't wait to see Kino. So we made it this far. Now I haven't been numbering these in order, but if I had to pick a number 1 figure for this year, I think it would be Kintaro from Storm Collectibles. Which isn't surprising since Motaro was my 2021 figure of the year. This guy's such a great figure. Some of my favorite character designs actually come from Mortal Kombat 2, and this is a great representation of that classic design. Minus the feet, which I think were only two-toed in the game, similar to how Goro's are. But you know what? I'm glad his feet aren't like Goro's. And I'm especially glad his ankles aren't like Goro's, meaning the old Goro figure that Storm released a few years back. I'm pleased to say that Kintaro takes everything great about Goro and improves it by making the ankle articulation fully functional and able to hit poses that Goro could only dream of. And to add even more to the deal, he also comes with ice arms for MK3 Sub-Zero. Why does a Mortal Kombat 2 character come with accessories for an MK3 guy? I don't know. But I gotta admit, it makes me appreciate this Sub-Zero even more. The cryo arms look great, and Kintaro is such a great centerpiece to my Storm MK2 roster. If I'm doing any kind of rankings, then my figure of the year for 2020-22 is Kintaro.
What a list. What a year, 2022. Crazy amount of action figures, crazy amount of money spent that I'd really rather not get into here. Yeah, the less said the better, I think. What were some of your favorite figures? Were any of them on this list in this video, or maybe you had some other ones that I just don't collect, or whatever the case? Leave them in the comments. Let's get talking. Let's get comparing notes here. That's what we do. So with that said, I think I've assembled a pretty good list and a pretty good idea of just what I thought really stood out last year as far as action figures go. Hopefully you agree. Hopefully you've, left a comment and hit thumbs up and all that kind of stuff that YouTube people have to beg for in videos when they put stuff like this on the internet. Want to thank you again for watching. Want to wish you a Happy New Year, even though we're already almost into February by the time I post this. But have a great 2023. We'll see you around the channel, maybe on the Patreon if you feel like, coming and seeing what that's all about, or on any of my social medias. Thanks again for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Later.
That's crispy.